is a great privilege to have been asked by Brian to preach at this ordination service. It's nice to know that even at my advanced age, there are still new things to be done. I've never preached at an ordination before, so this is a great treat for me. I hope I do justice, Brian, to you and your keen mind, and to all of your friends and your family and your fellow clergy who are gathered here this evening to celebrate with you. So thank you very much. As I was contemplating what to say and how to put this together, I was struck that sometimes the ordination sermons that I have heard seem to be a cross between a commencement address and a eulogy. The commencement address part is that sometimes they are filled with hopes and aspirations and exhortations. You know, you graduates are the future of the world, and the most wonderful people now, and the hopes and dreams of everyone are resting on you. You can go out there and make a difference and make a change. You know, platitudes and pieties that are often forgotten about as soon as the caps are tossed in the air. And the eulogy part, because it is, unfortunately, at people's memorial and funeral services that you often really learn who they were, what they valued, what they cherished, what the meanings of their life were. You learn a lot at that kind of service, who the person really was. So the good news, Brian, is that unlike a funeral, you're here now to hear these things as the guest of honor. You're not the absent guest of honor. So you get to hear this a little bit today. Now, the first thing we should really be clear about is you are here because of your parents, and their parents, and their parents. You are here because of all the people who have nurtured and supported and loved you, who have taught you, who have guided you, who have directed you, who have paid for your education, who have supported you in many kinds of ways, all of those things that happen to someone in the first 20 or so years of your life. You are here in person because of that. Persons known and unknown, as we say, the cloud of witnesses who are gathered in this church today are with you as well. So in that sense, we thank all of them for your sitting here today. But we are here this evening because of your call to ministry, the call that you have responded to, and the church's part in that call. So now I get to tell a story about you. First encounters. You might remember the first time you wandered into St. George's, we had done the unthinkable. We had changed the service time for some reason that eludes me. And so you were here at the wrong time, and we had a nice chat, and I thought, gee, great chap, great young man, I hope he comes back. And you did, fortunately. I think an hour later for the right service. And then you came, and you found the 8 o'clock service. You came to that, and came again, and came again, and came again. And so after a few months of chatting and foyer conversations and being here, you called me up and you said, could we have coffee? Not an uncommon event for a college student. And I said, fine, why? And you said, well, I don't know how to put this into words, but I think I'm having a conversion experience. Now, I did not let on to you as an Episcopalian how terrifying the words conversion experience, when used together and in the same sentence, how frightened I was to hear that. But I mustered up my best Episcopal aplomb and diplomacy, and we had coffee, and you said just that. And you told me a little bit about your journey of churches and traditions and Eastern religions and seeking and finding, and you said, you know, I thought I had really almost lost it, but there's something about that church and that service. What is this right one service? What is this thee, thy, thou, and liveth and reigneth stuff, and where does that all come from? And so I filled you in about as much as I could about the Episcopal Church and Right One and the 1549 prayer book and all that great stuff. And you said, I'd like to give this a go. And I said, great. You don't have to make any big commitment now, but if you want to try us out, please come. St. George's is a big enough place. Come see how it works out. And the rest, as they say, is history. You came aboard, you became a member of the church, you revitalized our Canterbury Club. You were a driving force behind getting that started. You pitched in at the yard sales and the Christmas fairs and all kinds of ways. You went on to get that religion philosophy degree from UNH, and we're a great, great presence here. So the moral of the story, of that particular story, is that Anglicanism and the Episcopal Church is a tradition organized around worship. And it's a great tool of evangelism in the best sense of the word. It is a tool of conversion. And the other is keep those right one services going. You never know upon whose ears those words will fall and the difference they will make. And the other piece is, of course, the obvious, the vital importance we have of college ministry. This church was built to be a mission to the University of New Hampshire. It's a mission we take very seriously. It is a reason we have the Bryans and so many other people gathered here this evening. It is the vitality of this parish, and it is at the point, I'm happy to say, when the university closes, everyone mourns the loss of the students and waits until September comes so they can be back to be with us. Well, that's the eulogy piece. So that wasn't so bad, wasn't it? Pretty good. Commencement. How is this like commencement? Well, in a few moments, you will be graduated in a manner of speaking. As it were, you will be ordained to another level of ministry where most clergy live and move and have their being, in the priesthood. It is related to your diaconal work for sure, but in many and important ways, it is so very, very different. Any priest in this room or any other priest that you run into who shares his own ministry will relate differing aspects of what that priesthood means to them. So indulge me as I consider a few aspects of the ministry of 20 years of priesthood that I have shared that you might want to ponder in your heart, as Mary did. Number one, ordination confers authority, not power. Ordination confers authority, not power. Power is an elusive and very scary kind of item in the world. It must be propped up, maintained. It can hide beneath pomp and circumstance. It can quickly fade away. You might remember The Wizard of Oz. Didn't the power go away quickly when that curtain parted? Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. That's kind of what power is about. When hands are laid on you shortly and that crowd gathers around you, you will seem and feel as if the power of the Almighty is indeed overshadowing you. But those hands will withdraw after a moment. And it's not power that remains, but authority. Authority of the church, authority of the community for you to be a priest. How you wear that authority, how you let it guide your actions, your thoughts, how you let the community serve you and reauthorize your authority day by day, week by week, all that is absolutely essential to your priesthood. It is your ministry, it is your lifeblood, that reauthorization of your authority. Number two, the test of the effectiveness of your ministry is not your presence, but your absence. It's very natural for those of us who end up in this line of work to think we've got to be there all the time and do everything and kind of be responsible for everyone, and that's important. But you will want to lift up and identify other ministries, other persons whose capacity is perhaps greater than your own, who you support, who you encourage, who you let go to do ministry around you, especially and even when they think they can't do it. And in that way, by training and supporting others to envision what you do, they will also be able to share in your priesthood. Bring to the work at hand your infectious faith, your vital enthusiasm, so that things can run just fine without you. It's a little like good parenting. You kind of set the stage and there's a gradual period of withdrawal and you're there supporting in the background. But then those children are off on their own. And the last thing. You are going to be with people at the most important and critical moments of their lives. You will be with them in life and death. You will be with them in sickness and in health. You will know things about people, what is going on in their own journeys. You will be confided in. You will intuit after a while and after experience what is going on with people as well. Your sixth sense will pick up on those struggles of life and those joys of life. All this is indeed the stuff of life and death. And sometimes things happen very quickly. You will need to go from a hospital visit to a vestry meeting. You will need to go from a deathbed to a baptism. You will be talking with some parishioner, and then a phone call comes in, and everything changes at once. One by one, over the course of a week or so, those concerns and issues will accumulate, and singly you can handle them all. But the impact is made on Sundays at the Eucharist, which shortly you will be presiding over. All those life and death things are gathered into one in your heart and soul as you preside at the people's celebration of their redemption. And what always moves me, and where I have to take sometimes every inch of self-control that I've got, is when those hands are presented at the rail to receive the bread of life from your hands. You will move from person to person, life to life, story to story. You, however, alone know all the stories. You know the stories of everyone who is at that rail. You know everything behind those extended hands. The family that is soon to move away for a new job. The enlistee now to be deployed to an area of violence. The teenager confused about his or her sexual identity. The recently laid off husband with 2 children in college. The single mother struggling with a difficult pregnancy and a small child at home. The lifelong parishioner whose cancer is now and never will be again in remission. The young man rejoicing at a year of sobriety. The newly engaged couple who have just asked you in the foyer to preside at their wedding. The 2 feuding vestry members who have never agreed about anything, kneeling side by side to receive communion. All sorts and conditions of people before you, and you know all of the stories. If it overwhelms you occasionally, if you feel a crazy mix of sadness and joy, tragedy and triumph, if you feel as if you can't control your emotions, if there are tears in your eyes from time to time, then you'll know you're doing the ministry of priesthood. Brian, you are offering your faith, your mind, your strength. You are giving yourself to the service of the church at a difficult and challenging time. But maybe the consolation for us is that the hubris of the present has always made us believe that our time is both unique and perilous. But the church and Christianity has its challenges in the here and now and needs those, I hate to say it, I'm old enough now, of your generation, that needs those of your generation who can both share faith and make faith real, possible, and plausible in the midst of things that so often we cannot understand. It is a constant and seemingly eternal task, and one that the church has been at for 2,000 years. Maybe that's why they call it not the perfection of ministry, but the practice of ministry. If we got it right all the time, there wouldn't be anything to practice. So we welcome you today to that practice of ministry and practice of priesthood. It begins for you now. It begins with God. It begins with Mary, the mother of our Lord. And especially it begins now for you, because with God, nothing will be impossible. In the name of God, Creator, Redeemer, and Sustainer.